Greetings, fellow patriots, fellow Americans. I thought I would take some time to do another video. Or more or less a observance of truth, as I like to call it. I thought I would start trying to do these kinds of videos. That's what I may as well call them, observances of truth. And today's lesson is that war is only to be won by those who are willing to fight for it. The truth is you'll never obtain freedom or peace by being weak and cowardly. Showing weakness in the face of evil only encourages evil. That's something that society's forgotten. Especially my fellow Christians. Sadly, a lot of my fellow Christians have forgotten that Jesus said, if no man has a sword, let him sell his cloak and buy one. And that same Jesus drove the money changers out of the temple with a whip of knotted cords, screaming, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you made it a den of thieves." The truth is also we have a lot of people who are weaklings and cowards who won't put away their fears and their socialist religions of tolerance and political correctness. These are the people that I keep talking about that's on the internet. You know, the ones that are always trying to convince you that government's all powerful and can't be resisted, which is a lie. A lot of that has to do with a lot of government agents and puppets and, you know, the ones that are actually being, paid to spread propaganda and fear-mongering. It's called psychological warfare if you don't understand what that is. And if you don't think that there is no psychological warfare, just look at how quick people will attack you if you go against the narrative of the nonsense that they've been indoctrinated to believe. Especially atheists, agnostics, flat earthers, socialists, satanic socialists. See, these people, they know that they are the minority in our society. So they try to indoctrinate us with a bunch of fear-mongering propaganda. The new fear-mongering propaganda is that they're going to set up Islam in America or set up communism in America. It's the same crap as that COVID nonsense, which, by the way, I exposed as a lie, because it was nothing but seasonal cold and flu and pneumonia that was used as a propaganda weapon to steal an election and try to implement socialism, which, by the way, they could never do because they could never get around the Constitution. And there's too many of us and too many guns. Sadly, a lot of my fellow Christians, as I observed, they've become just like the rest of the world. With that garbage that Christians are supposed to be weak, tolerant, politically correct pansies that just tolerates evil. If you believe in tolerating evil, then you're not a Christian. Just like you can't be a Christian and be a socialist. Especially since socialism is the worship of the state and the dictators as gods. But then again, the imbeciles that tries to convince you that socialism and Christianity is the same thing, or the same idiots that don't understand that Nazis, communists, fascists, Islamic fascists, etc. are actually the same socialists that murdered and enslaved countless millions. By the way, The only difference between Islamic fascism and mainstream socialism is that Islamic fascism pretends to have a god. They don't worship the God of heaven, they worship Satan. Atheists and agnostics, their ideology is founded in is the foundations of mainstream socialism like Nazism, communism, and fascism. They have the delusion that they don't have a God, but they actually do. Since atheism and agnosticism is based in the satanic principle of do as you will, which is the idea that morality is subjective and all things are permissible, even evil deeds. Anyway, all these people are nothing but liars, and they are the minority in our society. And don't let them tell you otherwise. Because you notice something. These dirty communists, the LGBTQIA plus fascists, the Islamic fascists, and all the other socialist goons, they only attempt to pull their crap in, in their Democrat socialist hellholes because they know they can't get away with it in red cities and states. And that's the reason why they try to use psychological warfare against us. And truthfully, and I'll point it out time and time again, even though no one wants to hear it, we wouldn't even have these problems if, one, they hadn't wanted to take God out from being the head of our society, because people want to be their own gods and believe that the universe revolves around them. That's what their mentality is. That's another point. Another thing that points to the fact that their belief systems are satanic. And also, people have forgotten how to be noble and honorable. People today, they have no sense of duty or loyalty or honor or self-sacrifice. They care about themselves and what they can get. And that's another part of the mentality that they have, that shows that they are programmed sheep. Socialism is based on division and class warfare. Socialism doesn't work without it. They want us to be afraid. Truth is I'm not afraid. I don't know about any of you. You're never going to gain peace by being weak. You're never going to gain freedom by being weak. As I keep pointing out, showing weakness in the face of evil only encourages evil to continue. That's the reason why they keep yelling about toxic masculinity and all that kind of garbage. Everything you see is about keeping us divided, fighting, killing one another. It's the reason why racism and bigotry still exists in America. Meanwhile, they're dividing us, getting us to kill one another, while they push for open borders so they can bring in cheap slave labor. So Democrats can eventually have real slaves like when they owned black people. They've already did this crap in Europe. by the way, bringing in all those third worlders over there. Now they're trying it over here. And if we don't put a stop to it, well, we may just lose America. Once America goes, there'll be no freedom left. I personally don't think it'll happen, at least not till after the rapture of the true church, which will herald the coming of the Antichrist. Well, that's just something I wanted to put out there. So, till next time, keep fighting, patriots.